Yo. Welcome in, man. Today is January the 11th, 2022. It's your boy Chris, and this is the Cash Day with Chris show, the NBA betting podcast slash show, brought to you guys pretty much every single morning when we in a flow. We had a lot of action yesterday as far as NBA games. I think it was 7 games in the NBA. And I only had 2 picks. Went 1-1 on the official picks. Was on the Oklahoma City Thunder yesterday. Just a quick recap on the Oklahoma City Thunder yesterday. Upset I didn't get the best line at +4.5 before the news came out that Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero were going to be ruled out, as well as Caleb Martin in that spot. But it really didn't matter. Oklahoma City still got the job done. Lost the game by 1 point. So we'll take that cash. And then I was also on Plumlee rebounds, and really difficult to get rebounds when you're giving up 150 points. The Charlotte Hornets just flew up and down the court, shooting the ball really, really fast early in the shot clock. And they forced Toronto to play at their speed. And Toronto also got up and down the court, made a bunch of shots. Like I said, scored 150 points. Yeah, you're not going to get 11 rebounds in that. I thought it was a it was a really great spot for Plumlee, but you know what happened. So 1-1 on official plays that I gave out yesterday. Didn't give out any plays on the morning show. Needed to wait until we got some injury news, and I think that's where we are today as well. So I got a few games that I want to go through, but honestly, not a lot. We still waiting on a lot of lines right now. It is 7 a.m. Eastern time on the 7 a.m. Eastern on the East Coast, put it like that. So we do have a few lines out, but a lot of these lines we're still waiting for. Um, so yeah, a lot of lines, especially some of these, first quarter, first half lines are still unavailable. So let's get into it. If you guys wouldn't mind, hit the like button for me if you guys can, and let's get into the show, man. So even if you're listening back on the podcast or watching, later at a later time as well, hit the like button for me and let's get into the game. So, um, I failed to mention this: the show is presented by the Basketball Forever Podcast Network. There's a bunch of different podcasts that are being hosted over there. Basketball Forever is just the epidemic of all of the podcasts. It's the center, the hub where all the podcasts come from. This just happens to be the betting one. So if you're looking for basketball content in general, check out the Basketball Forever Podcast Network, where you guys can get access to all the podcasts over there. So now, with no further ado, let's get into the games for today. First game up, let's go to DC. So we have the Washington Wizards laying a half a point now. I see it come down from. It looked like it opened at the Bulls being 1 point favorites in DC, and right now it's down to the Washington Wizards actually catching that half a point. So what the books are telling you is that this game is kind of a pick 'em between the two. Chicago comes in just 8-13 on the road. They are 11-9-1 ATS on the road, and this team is 7-2-1 in their last 10 games against the spread, 6-4 overall. Washington Wizards have started to do that spiral that they typically do. This team was balling last week, and they've since, I think, lost 4 in a row. They are only 10-8 at home, straight up, but only 7-10-1 against the spread at home as well. 6-4 ATS in their last 10 and straight up. I look at this game from a matchup perspective. First and foremost, I feel like one way that we typically attack the Washington Wizards, what has been profitable this season, is attacking them through their big men. I think Vucevic could potentially have a really big game in this spot. I don't see a matchup for him. Kyle Kuzma got thrown out not thrown out, but disqualified early in the fourth quarter. I think it was like 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. He went straight to the locker room. He didn't even stick around for the continuation of the game because they were losing by so many points to the Pelicans. So could be a bounce back spot for them. The Bulls typically don't play weaker competition at great. The Washington Wizards are just 17-24. So I think if I had a play in this game, I'd be looking towards the Wizards and a bounce back spot. No Bradley Beal, but you're also still waiting on injury news. It's a lot of things kind of going on. DeRozan is questionable. He left the last game earlier this week when they played on Monday in Boston. I think he said that he is going to be able to play, but he's listed as questionable. Porzingis on the other side is also listed as questionable. Daniel Gafford also listed as questionable as well. So if Porzingis is ruled out, I think you absolutely have to look at Kyle Kuzma PRAs, his points, rebounds, plus assist line, because the keys will be in his hands for sure. We know Bradley Beal has still not returned to this to the lineup for this team, so that's the way I would look. I would also be looking at Vucevic. Like I said, the Wizards struggle versus big men. Vooch has these two teams have already played twice this season as well. Vooch has a 25 point, 11 rebound game earlier in the matchup in December, and a 24.8 rebound earlier in the season when these two teams first played during the first week in October. He had 24 points and 8 rebounds. Also, if you go back to last season, Vooch had 27 points and 5 rebounds in DC for the last time that these two teams played to end the year last year. So I would look at Vooch, like I said, 25 and 11 in this last game, 24 and 8. And you think about it, the Chicago Bulls don't have another big man that they can utilize. They have a bunch of guards. If you guys watch them play, it's just a bunch of guards out there. Caruso and Ayo DeSumo and Levine. So I'd be looking at probably more so props in this one. Until we get the injury news on who's going to be available in this game. So don't want to spend too long on that one, especially when we don't know all the information as far as the side. Let's go to the Timberwolves and the Pistons game. So the Timberwolves in this spot, we don't have a lot of lines. I see one line with them opening at 6. I saw it open at 5.5 actually. Now it looks like it's being pushed to 6 on a few books. A lot of books don't even have this line up yet. We don't have a total for this one yet either. Whatever that total is, I think you look towards the over. And if you don't look towards the over, you at least look to the Minnesota Timberwolves team total to go over. So this is going to be an interesting game. We know that Detroit has been struggling lately, looking like like they're just kind of tanking away games. Yesterday they played in Philly on the second of a 2-game stand with Philly. One of those games were in Detroit, and the other game happened to be in Philadelphia last night. This team is just 3-7 against the spread and straight up in their last 10, bottom 5 in every defensive metric pretty much. And I think it's typically I look for motivational spots. The Timberwolves, what's that going to be their motivation to beat the Detroit Pistons? I'll tell you exactly what it is. This team hasn't lost a game since they played against the Detroit Pistons. So this is a big revenge game in my estimation. I think it could be a trifecta spot. I think you could take Detroit. I think you could take Minnesota, either team totals, first quarter, first half, full game, all to go over, or you could look at the spreads. Detroit has started the games off slow. This will be a pretty bad spot for them as well. This team is coming off second night of a back-to-back with travel from Philly back to Detroit, and third game in 4 nights because, like I said, they did just play against the Philadelphia 76ers 2 nights ago as well in Detroit. So third game in 4 nights and second night of a back-to-back, and it's a road home back-to-back as well. You talk about the revenge angle for Minnesota. Detroit is the last team to beat them in this spot, like I talked about earlier. In that game, this game was on the last day of the new year. It was played on December 31st. Minnesota led that game. They were up in that game 64-50 at halftime. And they were outscored in the second half by 26 points, only scoring 40 points in the second half at home before they had their players only meeting. And they haven't lost a game since. This team is 4-0 straight up. The Minnesota Timberwolves, that is, 4-0 straight up and against the spread since that game. So I think they probably have this one circled if I had to guess. Detroit is also 0-8. Traveling from away to home. So when their previous game was played on the road and they're back home, they're 0-8 in this spot, allowing 120 points in this spot as well. Detroit traveling from away to home with no rest, they're allowing 117.5 points in that spot. All the same stats. And then you look, like I talked about, you look at Detroit, 29th defensively on the season and bottom 10 in the last 5 games. Detroit's still dealing with a lot of injuries, so I do, suggest waiting for the injury news. Bogdanovich didn't play in the game last night. Isaiah Stewart was also ruled out. I think it was a shoulder injury. Of course, they don't have Marvin Bagley III. He'll still be out. Durham missed yesterday's game as well. Just a team that can't score the ball, and I do think we got to wait on that. Wait on that news because Durham could be in. and they'll need him in this game, especially to bang down low with Rudy Gobert. But you look at Minnesota, they've also won and covered their last 3 meetings in Detroit as well. So I'm looking for motivation spots, and I think we got one. I definitely think we got one. Like I said, I would look towards Minnesota started these games off pretty fast as well. All the games recently, except the game in Houston, which was their last game, they did not cover the first quarter. They did not cover the first half, but did end up getting the cover for the full game. So I think that they come out early and often, pretty quick. Put up some points early in this game, especially with Detroit having tired legs on the second night of a back-to-back, 3rd and 4. Like I said, Minnesota, they haven't played a game since January 8th. So coming off 2 days rest and a win against the Houston Rockets. So I really, really like this spot for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Moving along, I only want to get to one more game. So it's going to be a shorter pod today, about 15 minutes. I want to talk to you guys about the Pacers and the Knicks game. This is a really, really interesting game in my estimation as well. The Pacers come into this game, they're red hot right now. This team is 8-2 straight up and against the spread in their last 10. And they're getting 4.5 points. You get this Knicks team, they're coming off a pretty deflating loss against the Milwaukee Bucks 2 nights ago at home. 111-107 is what they lost that game. But before that, this team had won 4 games in a row and covered 3 of the last 4 spreads as well. For some reason, they can't cover against San Antonio. When San Antonio came to town, they were laying 10, only won that game by 3. But this team has been balling, man. The Knicks have been on fire lately. If you've been paying attention, and you've probably been cashing if you've been confident enough to put your money behind them. And like I said, the Indiana Pacers, this team is only loss was to Philadelphia 76ers in overtime on January the 4th. And before that, they hadn't lost a game since the day after Christmas to the New Orleans Pelicans when they lost by 20. And I want to say that game was on the second night of a back-to-back as well. So you get 2 really, really good teams in this one. Let me tell you guys how I'm looking to attack this game. I'm looking to specifically attack this game in the first quarter and the first half, right? We know that the Knicks are one of the better first quarter, first half teams. If you've been following the trend, then you already know what time it is, right? I think it should be a super motivated. I always look for motivation. Like I told you guys, I think it should be a motivational spot for the Knicks here, coming up short in a tightly contested game against the Milwaukee Bucks on Monday. The Knicks, specifically in the first quarter, is how I think I'm going to play this game. I'll probably get there in the first half as well. The Knicks are winning the first quarter by an average of 5 points after a home loss, in which their next game is also at home. So second game at home, coming off a home loss, they typically come out with a lot of energy, a lot of effort. They're winning the first quarter by an average of 5 points. I don't even see the first quarter line available, but when it becomes available, that's what I'm going to be looking at. You get the Knicks at home. They're +6 in the first quarter compared to the Pacers on the road. They're -3.4. We know that the Pacers started the season off really, really slowly in the first quarter, and that trend has kind of been, what they've kind of reverted back to recently as well. I've been watching this team play against the Portland Trail Blazers, against the Charlotte Hornets, and they've still come out to really, really slow starts. And I think that, playing against not one of the best team in the first quarter, I think we kind of see that trend repeat itself in this spot. So, like I said, the Knicks, they typically win the first quarter by 6 compared to the Pacers. The Knicks at home win the first quarter by 6 compared to the Pacers on the road. They're -3.4, so they're typically losing the first quarter by 3.5 points. Also, Knicks 25-15-1 in the first quarter, which ranks number 1. That's what their record is against the spread in the first quarter. That's the best record in the NBA. The Pacers on the opposite side, 13-24-1, worse than the NBA. Pacers 7-11-1 ATS on the road. That's also the worst in the NBA. And the Knicks 15-5-1 against the spread at home, which is the best in the league in the first quarter. So all of those things kind of point me directly to whatever the Knicks is in the first quarter. It'll probably be somewhere around 1.5. If I had to guess, like I said, the numbers aren't posted quite yet. And then a few additional things. So in 5 games where the Pacers are coming off a home loss and playing off a home win. because the Pacers did win their last game. When the Pacers are in 5 games where the Pacers have won their previous home game and they're playing their first road game, they're losing the first quarter by an average of 2.5 points. And then this is a revenge spot for the Pacers as well. The Pacers are 7-1 against the spread when they're revenging same season losses, but they're still losing the first quarter by 2 points. For whatever reason, they come out slow. If you guys have been watching them, you probably have seen the trend. Tyrese Halliburton specifically, this guy comes out, not. I'm not gonna say he's not, being aggressive, but he's a lot more aggressive in second halves of games. If you've just been looking at Tyrese Halliburton, live points prop at halftime, it's something that's been cashing. Dude will have 2 points, 4 points at halftime, come out in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, and have 14, 15 points just in the second half alone. So I know if you go to NBA.com and you look at the advanced stats, you can break down and see what players are scoring the most points, in the second half. I'm pretty sure Tyrese Halliburton will be top 5, top 10 as far as second half scoring. So I'm looking at the Knicks first half in this one. I think 5 is a tad bit too many points for me to lay, even though I think the Knicks could win this game. Pacers, like I said, they're balling right now, and they probably got revenge on their mind. They're 7-1 in revenge spots, but still losing the first quarter, like I said, by average of 2 points. So I think that there's some wiggle room there when you think about where these two teams are on the spectrum. I expect the Knicks to come out, with a lot of energy, a lot of effort early. So that's what I got for you guys. I know it's a lot of other games that I didn't get a chance to break down, but hit the like button for me if you guys can. And then of course, I jump into these other games, especially as we get more more lines. Like I said, I feel like the books are asleep, man. We don't have I was almost like, man, should I even do a show? I feel like lines are just now becoming available since I started doing the show. It's crazy. But definitely want to talk the Bucks and the Hawks. And then we got the Pelicans, going to Boston today as well. San Antonio back in Memphis again, and Phoenix coming off the big win last night in Golden State. This team gets don't get any easier because you got to go to Denver, and Denver's a tad bit better than Golden State right now, specifically at home. I think it'll be their 4th straight home game. Line opened at 12 for the Denver Nuggets. 12.5 is what I see. So yeah. And then we also got Sacramento and Houston to close the night off. Sacramento laying 9 points in that spot against the Houston Rockets that have been struggling on the road. So that's what I got for you guys today. Do a quick review of what I'm looking at. First and foremost in this Bulls and Wizards game, I'll be looking at some props until we get the injury news. DeRozan being injured, on the injury report listed as questionable. Kyle Kuzma and Daniel Gafford, does impact that game. I'll be looking for Kuzma props if Porzingis is out. Also on the opposite side, I think looking at Vucevic. Even if DeRozan plays, not sure he's going to be 100%. But Vucevic typically destroys the Washington Wizards. So I'll be looking at his points, maybe his points plus rebounds. And then going to this Pistons game. I like the Pistons early, and I like the Pistons, in the middle at halftime, and I like the Pistons full game. Probably gonna get there on their team total. But I'll have official plays for you guys during the Crispy Captain show at 5:15. And then last but not least, this Pacers in the Knicks game, got to be looking towards the Knicks first quarter, first half. The Pacers are a much better second quarter team than they are first quarter team, but the Knicks are a pretty good first quarter and first half team. So I'm definitely going to be on the Knicks first quarter in this spot, and then I'll let you guys know if I get there on the first half. And that's what I got for you guys, man. Let me see what's up in the chat. What up, KC? Anthony, appreciate you being here. Everybody was on Golden State last night. Everybody and their mother was on Golden State last night. That's a fact. That's a fact. They were. Brian said Wolves -6, Knicks first half, Kings -9. I'm definitely with the Knicks first quarter. Might get there with the first half as well, Brian. I appreciate you guys for coming through, man. Probably be back tomorrow morning, as always, for the Cashed It with Chris podcast. Podcasts are available Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all podcast streaming platforms. So hit the like button for me. Tell a friend to tell a friend, share the show. Always trying to break down the games and give you guys good analysis. Best of luck to you guys today, and I'll see you guys this evening at 5:15. I'm out.